Have you ever sat down to study, promising yourself hours of deep focus, only to find yourself checking your phone 10 minutes later or thinking about something completely unrelated? You're not alone. Millions of students around the world face the same struggle. We want to focus, but our minds drift constantly. But what if I told you there's a way to take back control? What if you could study for hours with full focus, feeling like you're in a mental flow state? In this video, I'm going to share with you the real secrets of long-lasting concentration, not just the typical advice, but proven methods that can truly transform how you study. Get ready, what you're about to hear might change your academic life forever. It's easy to blame yourself for not being able to concentrate, to label your mind as lazy or weak or even worse, to call yourself a failure just because you can't sit and study for hours like others seem to. But the truth is, the problem isn't you. The problem is the environment you've placed yourself in. Every time you sit down to study, thinking this time will be different, this time you'll focus, there are thousands of silent voices pulling your attention in every direction. Some are outside you, your phone, your surroundings, the noise, but the most dangerous ones, they come from within. You may think your phone is the biggest distraction, but your phone is only the surface. The real reason your focus collapses lies deeper. You haven't trained yourself to recognize what's actually pulling your mind away. You haven't taken a moment to identify what keeps hijacking your attention. Every time you begin studying and find yourself checking notifications minutes later, or suddenly remembering something random that pulls you out of the moment, that's not an accident. That's a habit. That's your brain trying to escape what it sees as discomfort. And the more you let it escape, the more that pattern gets reinforced. It becomes a vicious cycle. You try to focus, get distracted, feel guilty, and then try again. But this time you're mentally drained, more frustrated, and less motivated, so you give up. Not because you're incapable, but because you're trapped in a loop of mental noise. And here's the secret. Concentration doesn't happen in a cluttered space. It doesn't grow in chaos. Trying to study with your phone buzzing, your tabs open, and your brain juggling 100 open thoughts is like trying to grow a flower in a bed of thorns. It's possible, but you're making it 10 times harder than it needs to be. Think about it like this. If you were trying to read in a room where people were shouting, music was blasting, and someone kept tapping you on the shoulder, would you really be able to stay focused? That's exactly what's happening when you try to study with distractions all around. You're in a mental space filled with noise, and unless you deliberately shut those doors, your mind will always have an escape route. The worst part, you won't even realize how often you're running away from the task until you start observing yourself closely. Even simple thoughts can become powerful distractions. A passing idea like "I'm a little hungry" can evolve into a 30-minute kitchen detour. A casual "let me check my email" becomes a full scroll session through social media. Our minds are wired to wander, and unless you become fully aware of these triggers, you'll keep falling into the trap again and again. But awareness is power. The moment you recognize what's really going on, you've taken the first step toward regaining control. Focus isn't about forcing your brain to work harder. It's about setting it free from what's constantly pulling it away. You start by removing visual and digital clutter, by silencing notifications, by putting your phone out of reach. But you also clear internal clutter by writing down every lingering thought before your study session begins. You give your mind a clean space to enter, a space where its only job is to stay. And then, slowly, you begin to feel it. The noise fades, the fog lifts, and for the first time in a long time, your mind feels present. That state where your thoughts are aligned, where you feel immersed, where time almost disappears. That's what scientists call the flow state. And reaching it isn't about being smarter or stronger. It's about setting the stage right. It's about telling your brain, now is the time to focus and nothing else matters. Because once your environment is clean and your distractions are silenced and your intentions are clear, your mind will stop trying to run. It will stay. And when it stays long enough, that's where the real learning begins. Focus isn't a switch you flip. It's not something that magically turns on when you want it. It's a state of mind, built slowly and destroyed in seconds. Most people think they need to wait for focus to come to them, like inspiration falling from the sky. They believe that if they just drink a cup of coffee and sit at their desk, some divine force will push them into hours of deep, productive study. But that's a myth. Focus doesn't come to you. You have to chase it. You have to build it like a fortress, brick by brick, habit by habit, ritual by ritual. Training your brain to focus is like training your body in the gym. You would never expect yourself to lift 100 pounds if you've never lifted 5. But somehow, we expect our brains to study for hours when we haven't even trained them to concentrate for 10 minutes. That's where most people fail. They skip the basics, they don't build a foundation. If you want to train your mind, start small and start now. Use a technique like the Pomodoro method. Study for 25 minutes with full intensity, then take a 5-minute break. That's not just a timer, it's a psychological boundary, a signal to your brain that says, this is focus time. And when you repeat this rhythm over and over, your brain begins to adapt. Slowly, 25 minutes turn into 40, then 60, then 90. And before you know it, you're studying for hours without even realizing it. But timing is just one piece of the puzzle. The real magic lies in how you mentally prepare yourself before every session. Do you go in feeling forced, distracted, overwhelmed, or do you have rituals, personal signals that tell your brain, now we go deep? Some people start with deep breathing, others use the same chair, the same music, or even a specific scent. These cues may seem small, but they're powerful. They act like neural triggers, telling your mind it's time to enter work mode. The more you repeat them, the faster you reach that state. It's like installing a shortcut to concentration. The truth is, our minds today are addicted to switching from app to app, screen to screen, thought to thought. And this constant switching destroys the brain's ability to stay with one thing for long. So training yourself to stick with a single task is more than just studying. It's mental reprogramming. When you sit with discomfort and refuse to escape, you're telling your brain, this is our new normal. That discomfort is where the growth happens. That resistance is where focus is born. You must push through the urge to check your phone, to open a tab, to quit early. Every time you resist that urge, you build a stronger, more focused mind. And then something incredible begins to happen. You enter a zone where you forget about time. You stop hearing the noise around you. You feel like you're completely inside your task. Immersed, alive, present. That's called the flow state. And it's not a mystery or a gift only geniuses have. It's a skill, one you can build, one you can live in. And once you've tasted that level of focus, you'll never want to go back. Because that's the difference between students who struggle and students who soar, between those who tried and those who finish. Most people forget that the brain isn't a machine powered by willpower alone. It's a living organ deeply affected by every single thing you put your body through. What you eat, how you sleep, how much water you drink, even how you breathe. These might seem like small details, but they make a massive difference in your ability to focus. Imagine asking your brain to perform at full power while you've only slept 4 hours, haven't had a sip of water all day, and are running on greasy fast food packed with sugar. You can't blame your mind for drifting. It's simply trying to keep you functioning before it can even think about concentration. The brain uses a huge portion of your body's energy. Every complex mental task, from solving problems to memorizing facts to thinking critically, drains your fuel reserves. If your brain doesn't get what it needs, it starts cutting corners. You'll feel tired, lose sharpness, and struggle to stay mentally present. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a signal from your body that it can't keep up with what you're demanding from it. And this is where most students get it wrong. They think they're lazy or broken, but in reality, they're simply undernourished, underslept, and dehydrated. That's why real focus starts with taking care of your body. Sleep isn't optional, it's essential. When you sleep, your brain reorganizes memories, clears neural noise, and resets itself for another day of high performance. Without good sleep, deep focus becomes almost impossible. Even if you sit for hours at your desk, your brain will keep crashing in the background, and right after sleep comes water. Even mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2%, can reduce cognitive function and attention. That's why drinking a glass of water before studying, and regularly throughout, isn't a bonus. It's a requirement. Next comes food, and not just any food. Your brain doesn't run well on sugar spikes and crashes. Junk food gives you a short burst of energy, followed by a crash that leaves you more drained than before. Real brain fuel comes from protein, healthy fats, and fiber, eggs, oats, nuts, fruits, vegetables, the kinds of food that give you steady energy and support long-term mental performance. Even a cup of coffee or tea can help, as long as it's used wisely. Too much caffeine and you're no longer focused. You're anxious, jittery, and distracted. And then there's movement. A body that sits still for hours becomes sluggish, and so does the brain. Blood flow slows, oxygen delivery drops, and your thinking becomes heavy and dull. But a few minutes of walking, stretching, or even deep breathing can restart your system. It doesn't take much. 5 or 10 minutes of light movement can recharge your mental battery and make you feel awake again. But the most important lesson of all is this: you can't expect to be focused only when you study if your overall lifestyle is a mess. True focus is built long before you sit down to work. It's built through your daily habits, your sleep schedule, your meals, your hydration, your physical activity. And if you want to show up to your study session ready to perform at your best, you have to prepare hours, even days in advance. Your brain can do incredible things, but only if you give it what it needs first.